Hey guys, I'm back. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone was left in a pretty good state when I was absent. I've been gone for close to what feels like 2 weeks. It might have only been one. I don't know. Like to me, like the passage of time has kind of become, I guess, kind of saying hit and miss. Sometimes it feels like a week, sometimes it feels like two. That's what happens when you're at work or at work or at home, or going on outings with the missus. It's basically like everything is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes you know whether it was a week ago, 2 days ago, or 2 weeks ago. It's genuinely difficult to keep track. That's why I have a calendar on my phone to keep track of my medical appointments and stuff. Otherwise, I'm gonna fucking forget. Just a bit. Clear my notifications. Now, a little while ago, Whatever Central made a series of shorts more or less targeting aspects of my personal life, aspects of my online escapades, and to be blunt, a lot of their criticisms don't even feel like legit criticisms. A lot of the things the person says just feels like they're trying to be antagonistic because I said something or did something that pissed them off at one point. And instead of trying to address that like an adult and say, look, here's the problem I have, here's what you did that I don't like, here's my grievance with those things or statements. Okay, I could take that seriously. I could actually take that kind of stuff under advisement had it not been for the fact that a lot of it just seemed to be, you're doing things I don't necessarily like. Okay, you have the right to dislike them, but I don't know why it is you're making it my problem that you dislike something, especially if the things that I am doing are things other people also do. And if you are going to hold other people to task, I would recommend you do that as well, instead of trying to single me out because I either am a small audience or because I am someone who you feel you could take down. If you just keep screeching about me autistically whenever something that bothers you is brought up, even if I have literally nothing at all to do with it, which is kind of what it feels like. I mean, I would be bullshitting everyone in the room, including myself, if I didn't say that it somehow felt more personal than just a mere disagreement. Like, I'm not a fucking idiot. It genuinely feels like this is just a personal thing that the individual in question is trying to make a problem so that they can say that I am being unreasonable for behaving in a way they don't necessarily like. Which is, it's weak shit. It's weak shit. Because it just comes off as, well, I don't like you. Okay, get over it. You have the right to say you don't like me. You have the right to post that you don't like me publicly. That's not really a big deal. That's not something that I would really take to be an issue worthy of complaining about or really taking issue with, had it not been for the fact that you basically went out of your way to passive aggressively bitch about every little thing that goes on in my life that you know of, because you want to be a whiny little nitpicking shit about everything. One thing I don't understand is like the clout chasing argument that you made. It's like, well, you post about these things because you're clout chasing. No. The clout chaser is the person tagging people who have millions of subs or hundreds of thousands of subs in an attempt to get someone to fucking notice them. Because realistically, it seems like a lot of your grievances that you have with Shu aren't genuine. It seems like you're just trying to pick fights with people under the guise that picking fights with them will catapult you to some form of relevance. And here's the thing, I don't see myself as relevant, really. I see myself as just another tiny account on a channel that is on a platform surrounded by accounts that dwarf me to an exponential magnitude that is almost completely unattainable by today's standards of how content is allowed to go viral. But nevertheless, the person that's trying the hardest to reach the farthest to get more clicks is the person that could be perceived to be chasing clout. And the person in question who seems to be trying this their hardest, or at least trying it at least to a degree that you can say an effort is being made, is you. I don't tag people in things, like hardly ever, because I don't really care to. I don't find it to be a relevant thing to do. I don't find it to be a useful way to utilize my time. I don't see it to be a beneficial use of time, really, just to say, hey, look, I tagged you in a video where I basically just said that you're behaving like an irresponsible asshole to everyone. Well, great, what's that mean? It just means the person in question is going to see it, take offense to it, and probably have something to say about it. And then it just goes back and forth perpetually, and that's just not a cycle that I really care to create. Like, I don't. Like, the reason I've been burned out on this shit as of late is because I realize that I want to do something different. I want to move forward. Obviously, there's still content that I would like to produce. There's still things that I'd like to cover, like to talk about. There are still things that I feel deserve to be said. That being said, however, that does not mean I intend to keep doing this shit like every couple weeks where it's like I have another response to another fucking idiot that has nothing of value to say because I found a way to create another 12 alt accounts to say the same shit repetitively. Because let's be honest, sitting through that is a waste of everyone's fucking time and it feels like it's eating my fucking brain. Like it does. It does. It feels like it's eating my fucking brain. When I'm sitting there having to waste time arguing with a fucking moron who's missing the point intentionally just because they want to be annoying. It's a colossal waste of energy. It's just not worth the energy that it takes up arguing with a person who knows full well they can't defend any of their actions and statements, yet they are standing by those things steadfast because they want to be annoying just so they can sit there and waste your time the way they're wasting their own. Now, someone will argue, well, if they find enjoyment in it, it's not a waste of time. Yes, that's a decent argument. That's a decent enough argument to make. I'm not going to deny that. However, when the person is basically utilizing their time to be a headache for other people, not because they have a genuine concern, not because they actually want people to pay attention to what this person does, to make sure this person can't harm or cause other people problems for no real justifiable reason, then it's no longer a matter of wanting people to be held accountable or wanting there to be some sort of awareness about this person's shitbag behavior. Because at that point, it basically just turns into, see, look, I'm the victim. I've done something worthwhile. See how good I am? No. Not really, no. Because a lot of it just comes off as someone wanting to be an annoying little shit trying to make a point that doesn't need to be made about something that didn't need to be brought up. Sorry. Sure, it's a little itchy. Nevertheless, let me go back to it. There are a few points in his last comment reply that I want to actually cover in earnest. Because I feel like that video that was done could have been done much better with proper time to actually organize rebuttals and actually really listen to what has been said as opposed to what could be interpreted at a first glance. Because, let's be honest, the way he phrases things is somewhat ambiguous at times, and then other times it's crystal clear. And I have a problem with kind of shit like that because not only is it annoying to try to sit there and second guess what he might be implying, but it's also kind of stupid to have to sit there and argue against someone else's claims, all the while the person making the claim has no burden of proof placed on them. Because for some reason, apparently the burden of proof lies on the person that's being accused, but not the accuser themselves, in accordance with his own brain-dead logic. Now, there are only three, that I would like to bring up in that entire little comment, because everything else was just him, like, basically playing personal cards and trying to do veiled jabs. So let me just say this. You say people don't deserve to walk the world feeling unattached or unattached or attached. Yeah, they do. There are certain people who actively create situations for themselves where people view them as someone who is undesirable because of their behavior. Some of the times there are people basing their attraction solely on appearance, but that's a preference that they have a right to judge people for. And if they end up alone because they judge the wrong people based on appearance, that's their fault, and they have to kind of learn to lie in the bed they made for themselves. But that being said, that also means that if a person rejects another person, the person being rejected has a responsibility to learn to handle the rejection and learn to actually improve themselves to the point to where they are viewed as someone who may be desirable. And then there are people like Ronnie and Cranium and people very much like that who've basically built their entire online tenure on proving themselves to be undesirable, shitty people who get off on fucking with people because they don't have lives or meaning in their existence. And I'm not saying this to be a shitty person, I'm saying this because I genuinely don't believe that they take any sort of pride in being who they are or wanting to be better. Because instead of trying to look for ways to improve, they're looking for ways to blame others because they refuse to improve. So yeah, there are certain people who kind of do deserve to be alone because they set themselves up for it. They don't try to be better people. They don't try to be better for other people. They don't try to be even better for themselves because it's easier to blame society and blame the world around them for all the shit that they go through. People like that are very obvious where that shit comes from, and I'm not stupid enough to believe otherwise. Nobody is. Another thing I want to bring up is the whole, like, well, if you didn't want blah, 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 then you wouldn't be posting about your relationship. People post about their relationships all the time on social media. I'm not denigrating people because they're not in a relationship in and of itself. I denigrate people when they see other people in relationships and choose to attack those people for no other reason other than the fact that the people are in relationships, not because they're hurting the other person, but just because they want to be right. They want to be the person that's justified in attacking someone else's life, so they do just that. That's not me trying to denigrate or humiliate people for being single. That's me saying that if you attack people that are in relationships, you look shitty by doing it, and it makes it harder for people that might be interested to be interested. Because now you've created that image in front of them that they are witnessing you behaving like a total cunt. They are going to remember that, and they are not going to view that as an attractive quality because jealousy is a very ugly thing. Envy is a hideous thing. And as a result of it, those who are filled with it look ugly to those who are on the outside looking in. It's not that hard of a concept to grasp that those that are envious of other people's happiness look ugly to those who see them behaving that way. But the fact is, it's not done for other people's approval. Just because I'm happy about something and I talk about things I enjoy or things that I'm happy about or things that I'm celebrating, I'm not trying to make people agree with it. If people don't like it, they have a right to not like it. If you, for whatever reason, need to bitch about someone else being happy, that seems like it reflects more poorly on you than on others. There are people who genuinely dislike me with every fiber of their being, but even they, to my knowledge, don't talk about this shit. Because I imagine they're living their own lives and not giving two fucks. Same reason that whatever they're doing in their lives, I'm not aware of it, because I don't concern myself with shit like that. The only reason I concern myself with anything is when someone chooses to make their thing a public fucking spectacle because they're trying to spite people with it. When I post something that I'm happy about, it's not out of spite, it's because I genuinely enjoy it, and if you have a problem with that, that seems like it's something that you need to really look at yourself with. That's one of the things that you really need to do some fucking soul searching and ask yourself if you're angry or upset for the right reasons, or if you're taking issue with it for the right reasons. Because otherwise it just sounds like you're mad about nothing, and then you're wanting other people to feel bad that you're mad about nothing. You're basically trying to shame me for reasons that aren't even explicable or reasonable, because you're basically just saying that I should feel bad for reasons that you yourself decide I should, and that I should feel guilty for reasons that you've decided I should feel guilty for. That doesn't make any sense. You're basically just trying to say that I should feel bad or be penalized because I did something you don't like, or I do something that bothers you in some way, so I need to be like punished for it. I don't know how the fuck that makes any sense. Like, it just sounds like you're mad at me about nothing, and you're trying to disguise it by attacking me over these other things. Because let's be honest, it doesn't sound like legitimate criticism. It just sounds like I did something that angered you at one point, and you bottled it up and held it in, and then you popped up recently just to talk shit about it again, but you needed to find excuses to bring it up. I mean, that's the vibe I'm getting. I'm getting the vibe that you're just pissed at me about nothing, and you're trying to make it seem like I'm an asshole because reasons. And the reasons are because reasons. I don't understand why you like, well, you're a centrist. Well, of course I am. I don't believe that one side particularly favors you over the other. I believe that both sides have some level of valid criticisms towards the other. Both sides are right in some respects. The reason I don't believe in being hardcore left or hardcore right or moderate left or moderate right is because no matter where you stand, you get lumped into being one or the other the moment you mention that you agree with one or the other slightly more. And I just refuse to be lumped into a camp like that because I see that as fucking ignorant. This tribalistic mentality of you need to be with us or against us on everything. No. I don't need to be with anyone or against anyone on fucking anything. I can just sit there and say, well, I see why you might say that. I see why you might feel that way. I understand this. And I appreciate that you're taking the time to actually listen to my concerns and listen to what I have to say instead of trying to shout me down and make me feel bad about it. You see, that's the mindset of someone who genuinely wants to listen, who wants everyone else to be allowed to be heard. As opposed to saying, well, you're on this side, so you must inherently be like X, Y, and Z. Or you're on that side, so you must inherently believe X, Y, and Z. Because the problem is when it comes down to the way that the political sphere has come in this country the last 5-6 years, it's become one of these things now where you might even get attacked physically for believing in one thing over another. And I just refuse to ally myself with anyone in any camp where all of their behaviors are basically just, we're going to shame you into believing what we believe, or we're going to accuse you of being like something that is negative in some way in an attempt to basically try to leverage you into agreeing with us. And that's why I don't pick sides. Because I realize that if I'm picking a side, all I'm going to do is get myself in the middle of a fucking shitstorm I want nothing to do with. And that's my right. That's my right as an American citizen. I mean, do you live in the United States, dude? Do you know how crazy the political shift has gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, I'd rather not pick either one because there's too many assholes on both sides that I don't feel comfortable supporting or being associated with on any level. I mean, I have friends, one of which is very, very anti-Trump, and one of which is a couple of which are libertarian. And Zach, as everyone knows, is very left-leaning, although not hardcore left, he is left. Same thing with Jenny. But the fact is, I can still respect these people because I realize at the end of the day, they are good people. I might not always agree with them, but I can respect them as people and respect that they should have the equal right to contest and criticize a narrative, even if it's one I myself might not necessarily want to be involved in. That's their right to say what they think. And I will never tell anyone otherwise, and I will never tell anyone that they can't criticize because they should be. They should be allowed to be criticizing the government for its failings, whether it be left or right. And I'm not a contrarian just because I say things that fly in the face of what you personally want to believe. A contrarian is someone who disagrees just to disagree. I disagree because I've seen the holes in a lot of the shit that goes on in the last almost 10 years now, and I just don't believe it. I have a hard time believing anyone has the best interest of any other person at heart right now except for the common man. And that's why I don't believe in politicians. George Carlin said this almost 20 years ago, that a politician doesn't give two shits about anyone. He doesn't care about you, or you, or you, or you. He cares about your vote and your money, and that's it. And the dude was dead on. He was right, and he will always be right. Because unfortunately, the politicians that do care about people, they don't get votes because the parties will try to shark them just to make sure they don't have a chance. Because if they can't keep those lobbyists in their back pocket and keep bankrolling their own personal endeavors, guess what? They don't want them around. And a politician that will come up and oppose that, they don't want that politician around because that politician poses a threat to their money. Nevertheless, You seemingly have a problem believing that a person should be able to think critically, criticize, and look at the things around them and say, you know what, I just think that the world could be better than this. I just don't want to pick sides in a world that's like this because I think the world could be better. Why are you so mad, dude? Like, why are you just assuming the worst out of everything I've ever said? Again, this feels a lot more personal than you're admitting. I'd rather just have you come right out and say it instead of more or less loosely implying it without actually having the fucking fortitude or the fucking testicular strength to just straight up say, here's why I think you're an asshole, here's my problem, and here's why I feel like no one's listening. I would prefer you do that than whatever the fuck you're doing now, where it's basically just, I'm gonna say things that overtly imply one thing or another, but I'm not actually gonna explain why I really think this. I'm just going to go with whatever I believe the consensus might be that will allow people to agree with me without actually truly understanding what I'm saying. Okay, so you're basically going with, like, how the news likes to do things. Okay. We'll present a narrative full of half-truths or partial truths in hopes that people will believe what you say at face value and go after someone because they did something that you didn't like at one point. Which is either something that you've already covered or something that you haven't actually thoroughly explained. Like, all I'm saying is I'd rather just have you nut up and just tell me what the real problem is instead of dancing around it, because this kind of seems like a very weak, lazy excuse to try to rail on somebody without actual justifiable cause. Get help, dude. Because if the way you're treating me right now is reflective of how you treat other people that you have any problem with at all, you might need to fucking go to therapy. I mean, no bones about it, you might need to go to therapy.